Hello everyone, and welcome to the Brickformula review of LEGO set 6863, Batwing Battle over Gotham City. It has 278 pieces for ages 7 to 14, and it's from the Superhero series, brought to you by the DC Universe, and this set retails for $34.99. And I'd like to give a shout out to Firecracker 260, Lego King 133, Kill All 160, Invader Guy 107, Fun Geeks, and Stick Meat 1999, because they are the subscribers who had requested that I review this set. So everyone check out their channels. And moving forward, here in the front we see a really cool picture of the Batwing giving all it's got to take down the Joker's helicopter, so I can see why that guy's unhappy. And down here we have the minifigures. I'll have more on that later. And here in the back we see a lot of the cool features, and I'll talk about this set in more detail coming up. Here are the minifigures, and first up is Batman, and this is the 1989 version from Tim Burton's movie, and here he is up close, and he looks pretty cool, especially with that serious look. And it's also for that reason that I'm not very fond of his alternate face, where he's kind of smiling, especially with the mask on, because it takes away the cool factor. So he should never smile when he's in his costume. And there's the back, where we have some printing, and he comes with one Batarang, which you probably don't need since you're in the Batwing, but then again, you should never leave the Batcave without it. Next is the Joker, which is the exact same one that you get from the Dynamic Duo Funhouse Escape set, only this time around he comes with a toy Tommy gun that shoots out this red flag over here. Of course, you can always go for the real thing by taking the flag off, and there we go. And as you can see, he's pretty happy about his toys. And here in the back we have some printing, and he has an alternate face where he is smiling again, and clearly it's his lucky day. And finally we have the Joker's henchman, who I am guessing is his biggest fan. And the reason why I say that is because when you look in the back, he's got the Joker on his jacket, which is actually pretty neat. But still, he looks pretty unhappy, and it's probably because he's not paid very well. Now to check out the awesome looking Batwing, and I love this model even though it's not perfect, but this is proof that you can build something really cool looking without going crazy on parts, because this uses around 152 pieces. And here's the view of the front, and as you can see, it's pretty skinny. It's only about 4 bricks and a plate tall, which is about the same size as a minifigure standing up, although I think a minifigure would win by wearing a hat. Anyway, here's a view of the side, and we could use some tail fins up here, but it's not a big deal, and plus you can always add them on your own. And here's the view of the back, where we got this big flame, and the tip right here is pretty soft. And here's the view of the top, where we have a pretty good example of the bat symbol. And while we're up here, we do get some stickers. We got these two to go on the wings, and these two stickers go on the top hatch and in the front, which, by the way, they look kind of strange, which is why I didn't add them on. And plus I prefer my Batwing to be all black. And here's a view of the bottom, where it looks like they kind of neglected it, but at least down here we can see some of the play features. We have this bomb here, which kind of behaves like a homing missile if you watch the comic, and we have 2 flick fire missiles, which I'll get to real soon. But first we'll check out that bomb. Once you open this top hatch here, we have this button, and basically you push that to release the bomb, and this will push against the red cone right there. And there we go. And let's take a closer look at that. And here we are. It looks like a double-bladed axe with a red beacon, and it's pretty easy to reattach. Just hook it up to the yellow piece and you're good to go. And now to check out the coolest feature of the Batwing, and that is we have adjustable wings, and from here you can flick your missiles, which is pretty easy if you get the hang of it. I prefer pushing it, which is much more effective. But anyway, the bad thing about the wings is that if you play with it too much, they will fall off. But they're pretty easy to fix, so I guess it's okay. And plus they can be adjusted to about that high, which looks alright, I guess. And now, to check out the cockpit. Now if you look inside, there's really not much space, which in a way is a bad thing, because you'll end up folding Batman's cape, which is what happened to me when I left him in there too long. Because, as you'll see once I slide him in there, you really can't move too much, and the cape just gets folded in there. On a brighter note, you can fit him in there with the Batarang, and now we can close up the canopy, and as you can see, he won't be moving too much, if at all. And there we go. But this is still better than the previous model, because this is smaller, compact, it's got a better shape, and plus it's lighter too, so it's definitely a lot more fun. And now to check out Joker's helicopter. Once again, it seems like we have a smaller version of its predecessor, but I still like the design because it is pretty nice. And here's the view of the side. And we get this really cool looking ladder. And I like the way they made it too. It's like this white string with robotic arms in between. And from here we can attach the Joker. And this is where he's usually laughing all the way. In translation it means, wait for me, pull me up. And while we're here we can check out the stickers. We get these two to go on the sides right there. And the big J obviously goes on the tail fin. And here's the view of the front. And this is where we're going to see our laughing gas bomb. And that's a printed piece that you see there. We just rip off his nose. This way we can get a better look at his face. Pretty interesting. Reminds me of someone I know. And here's the other side. And you'll notice that we have 4 flick-fire missiles, making this more armed than the Batwing. Figure that one out. And we'll just push them, and they go pretty far too. I like that. And here's the view of the back. And you'll notice that we have this big red button, and that's what you press to release the bomb. And it doesn't go very far. And there we go. And here's the view of the front again with the bomb missing. And now to put the pilot inside. And obviously he'll go into the 4 studs in the middle. And you could lean him back if you want, but it's not necessary because he fits in just fine. And what I like about this helicopter is that it's built in a fun way that if you shoot it, you can easily break it without doing too much damage. Like you can pull this part off, and down goes the Joker. And the same can be said of the rotors. You can just rip them off. And what I like about the rotors is that they're really smooth when you spin them. See that? It's much better than the conventional rotors. That is really cool. And I think that just about covers it. So now we'll move on to the comic book. And here it is. This is issue number 4. And let's get straight to it. Our story starts here in broad daylight, which is rare for the Batwing. And looks like the Joker's just hanging around, minding his own beeswax. And here goes Batman. Seeing how vulnerable the Joker is, he unloads everything. And it's a hit. And they go flying downward, but they hang on to the rotor, which kind of reminds me of an Inspector Gadget. And that's it. Happy ending. And now we can move on to the recommendations. Overall, this is a pretty good set. Not too bad. When it comes to the value, I will admit that this is not as good as the other superhero sets, because we have a price per piece ratio of 12.8 cents a piece, which is pretty bad. And we're getting about $32 to $38 worth of parts here, not including the minifigures. This version of Batman is worth about $11 to $12, and the same goes with the Joker, and the Henchman's worth about $8 to $9.50. So the value's not that bad since this retails for $35, but still, it's just not as good as the other superhero sets. And when it comes to the play value, it's really good too. We have a really cool looking Batwing with 2 flick-fire missiles, adjustable wings, and a releasing bomb. And we have the Joker's helicopter, which while it is a little smaller than the previous version, it does have some really cool features with the laughing gas bomb, 4 flick-fire missiles, and that hanging lantern is really nice too. And in the end, it's definitely a fun and worthwhile set to get, and that sums up my review. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.